Hi, I'm Grace Maliska, and I'm here to talk to you about corporate social responsibility and the myth of women's empowerment. I wrote my master's thesis at Georgetown University on Athleta's corporate social responsibility work for women's empowerment and how that relates to the United Nations. I came to this topic because of long-term interest in the United Nations and their work for sustainability and human rights. Then one day I was scrolling through Instagram and watched a video on Athleta's feed I couldn't stop thinking about. That video was about the Personal Achievement and Career Enhancement Program, known as PACE. My master's thesis research focuses on two questions. Do Athleta's responsibility efforts, such as PACE, relate to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? And second, what results from corporate action for gender equality? Ultimately, through this research, I want to understand how potential leader in women's empowerment communicates corporate social responsibility work, and what underlies the discourse of women's empowerment as communicated by Athleta and the United Nations. Athleta is a brand with a mission to empower women and girls through a corporate social responsibility campaign known as the Power of She. Power of She was launched in 2017 and features three main aspects. The first are in-store classes for consumers on things like yoga, business education, and mindfulness. The second is Athleta Girl, a line of products for girls to help empower the next generation of women leaders. And the third is the Personal Achievement and Career Enhancement Program, which matches employment opportunities with business and social education for Athleta's garment laborers, who are predominantly young women ages 18 through 24 in Southeast Asian countries. I looked at how Athleta communicates corporate social responsibility on Instagram, measuring engagements in the form of comments and likes to see how consumers react to Athleta's responsibility efforts. I found that of the 175 posts shared in the 8-month period, 39 posts related to corporate social responsibility, which I defined as three facets of Power She, as well as content about sustainability. Of note, 5 of the 175 posts were about the PACE program, constituting less than 3% of total communications. But overall, Athleta communicates corporate social responsibility about 23% of the time to consumers on Instagram. This is consistent with research on the topic, which indicates companies should communicate no more than 20% of the time to consumers about corporate social responsibility. That's because consumers are more interested in the products for their own lives than the impact of the product on society or the environment. I then compared this information to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to find that of the 175 posts on Athleta's Instagram, over 90% of the posts related to corporate social responsibility were about women's empowerment. Overall, this aspect of the research demonstrates that Athleta's Power of She corporate social responsibility campaign relates to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, specifically to goal number 5, gender equality and women's empowerment. Athleta and the United Nations are approaching gender equality through a neoliberal feminist logic, which says that women are unequal due to societal practices. But the solution is to empower women by providing economic opportunities, which gives women the opportunity to empower themselves and thus foster gender equality and improve all of society. But there are two main flaws in this logic. The first is that empowerment is a development paradigm that privileges power. Empowerment individualizes human rights, placing the burden of equality on women's shoulders. Furthermore, corporate social responsibility entrenches corporate power and normalizes human rights relation to capitalism. Finally, it offers no critical assessment or reform of structural systems that facilitate and create gender inequality in the first place. The second main issue in the women's empowerment logic is that women's empowerment does not equate equality. The United Nations says that all humans are innately and universally endowed with human rights. Saying women must become empowered into their rights undermines human rights as inherent. Women's empowerment also essentializes women in prescribed inherent feminine qualities of nurturing, motherhood, and cooperation. Finally, women's empowerment is a contradiction. By saying women are without a voice and without power, while at the same time saying women are uniquely powerful to improve society, is a contradiction of the women's empowerment narrative. Overall, my research finds that Athleta's corporate social responsibility efforts align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and human rights discourse, and that this discourse is a neoliberal feminist model. The women's empowerment model of the neoliberal feminist ideology shows that neoliberal feminism is a tool of capitalist patriarchy, resulting in a self-limiting structure, providing development as a paradigm that solidifies power and making empowerment undermining human rights. But just because something is problematic doesn't make it bad. Corporate social responsibility work in support of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is essential and important because of the increasingly powerful and unique role of corporations in the world. But the myth of women's empowerment conflates wealth with power and economic opportunity with equality. Women's empowerment needs treatment as one aspect of equality rather than a universal elixir.